record on this computer. Hello, good afternoon, good morning, or good evening to everyone listening to this session from any corner of the world. Hope you're staying safe and coping up well with these uncertain times. Thank you for attending the EMEA edition of TAT Summit 2020. And also big thanks to Alan for rostering TeleSign into the agenda to share our side of the story, focusing on how TeleSign, using one of its digital identity solutions, helps Skype fight the menace of robocalls and spam calls in general towards the users. I'm Abhijeet Singh. I lead the team of digital identity experts focusing on the international market. I've been in the fraud detection and protection industry for more than 14 years now, starting with telecommunications, but over a period of time, foraying into multiple domains and also into identity management in general. I've handled customers in more than 100 countries. Personally, I like to click photographs a lot, and I am, as my wife calls it, a digital gadget hoarder. Lockdown has brought in various different experience for people around the world. For me, it was a chance to learn a new skill, which I found in the face of fish keeping. And now we have 4 healthy and growing goldfishes in our house, which our toddler son loves a lot. I'm not sure how many of you know TeleSign, so let me start with that introduction first. TeleSign is a Los Angeles-based based company which connects and protects online experiences and businesses with sophisticated digital identity and engagement solutions. Through APIs, we deliver user verification, comprehensive risk insights, and customer communication across the entire user lifecycle across various domains. TeleSign was founded in the year 2005 on the back of being one of the pioneers in the area of two-factor authentication through over the phone numbers, through SMS and voice. And that is something which has helped us enter, the biggest names out there in the web and the digital service providers out there. This part of the business, which is also flourishing extremely well even today, is now now comes under our verification solution portfolio. In 2010, sitting on the huge amount of phone data, serving customers around the world, delivering two-factor authentication, we started providing phone data intelligence. At that point of time, trying to solve the problem of VoIP number detection, which was causing a lot of problems in terms of the involvement in fraud attacks. And this particular phone data intelligence product has now converted into a full-blown digital identity solution portfolio, which will also be focused during today's session. In 2016, we entered into the communication services space, delivering a customer engagement solutions using voice and SMS services. And this is something which now has formed into a full-blown communication solution portfolio within TeleSign's solution segments. And in 2017, something very interesting happened when Belgacom International Carrier Services, shortened as BICS, acquired TeleSign, and that, while helped BICS, serve its aspirations of entering the digital ecosystem, also helped TeleSign, get higher quality in terms of its verification and communication business through direct interconnections with the operators around the world, while also getting a huge amount of communication intelligence to actually bridge the gap between the online intelligence, online behavior intelligence about phone numbers, which it was already possessing, complemented by the big communication intelligence about the phone numbers, which of course helped us increase the profile of the phone numbers which we have in our solution portfolio. This also helped us with our relationship with the operators, which now has helped us get into direct interconnections for operator source data all across the world, much more comprehensively than what we had a few years back. TeleSign beyond 2020 has an aspiration of becoming a holistic digital identity player beyond just the phone number intelligence, and you are going to see some exciting things coming in the coming years. Now, based upon all this, which I just told you, and the services which we offer in the area of verification, identity, and communications, we are now present in 21 out of top 25 largest web properties around the world. So that was about TeleSign. Let's get to the point of or the crux of the matter why we are here, right? If you look at the communication in general, I mean, since the time it was invented 144 years back, when like Alexander Graham Bell first invented the telephone, you would see the communication as we know it has changed its form and the the medium by which it gets delivered dramatically. And the point here is that I mean, the technology has completely changed its face over these years. And I mean, riding from GSM version, I mean PSTN and GSM version 1.0 to now 5G, and people have already started talking about 6G. I mean, communication as we know it is completely different, in just last few years. And I mean, combine that with the over-the-top service providers, which also deliver communication services. It has also brought in such interesting face of communication as we know it by delivering over-the-top messaging, video calls, and voice calls through apps on on the smartphones or mobiles of every other person we know of, right? But there is one thing which has continued to remain constant in the communication industry, which is about the lack of identity, which the overall communication industry has continued to struggle with. So what I mean by that is when somebody reaches out to you and any medium available to you, whether it's a mobile phone, it's a call over GSM, or it's a landline to landline call, or if it is a communication which has happened over a messaging or rich communication app. In that case, unless you know that person, you would end up getting just a bunch of digits on your screen with the message, or a person speaking on the other side without knowing who that person is, right? And that essentially has driven fraud in the communication industry for many years now, and also continues to do so. And one of the key problems with the communication identity, or lack of communication identity as such, has led to the rise in something we call as robocalls. I mean, in combination with other frauds which happen in the telecommunications domain. But robocalls are the one which thrive the most on the gray area which exists in terms of the communication intelligence, the communication identity about the caller who is initiating that particular call, or the communication in general. And so just to describe robocalls in a bit more detail, traditionally robocalls have been classified as a phone call that uses a computerized auto dialer to deliver a pre-recorded message, as in from a robot, right? That's where the name comes from. Now, robocalls are often associated with were often associated with political and telemarketing phone campaigns, but can also have good purposes for use in public service or emergency announcement when there are times of need. So not everything related to robocalls is traditionally bad, but said that nowadays robocalls have become a negative connotation to represent any unwanted call users end up receiving for the purposes of telemarketing, alerts, reminders, payment reminders, and last but not the least, um, about around phone-based scams like phishing, social engineering for the purpose of account takeover, defrauding, and unsuspecting user, etc. Um, it has become such a big problem nowadays that phishing using voice calls now has actually become a widespread phenomena that now has attracted its own term to describe it, which is wishing, which stands for voice-based phishing or voice call-based phishing. So it's quite a big problem nowadays. Now robocalls, which are classified as scams, are now incur huge losses to individuals around the world, with US alone attracting around 19.7 billion US dollars out of 56 million impacted people in just last 12 months. Also, robocalls are only increasing every year, even after multiple telecommunication, regulatory, and government efforts to curb it. And all this all of this, right? I mean, when we talk about robocalls, it rides on a fact that it has become extremely easy with the use of quite easily available software and hardware combination to generate massive amount of calls while hiding or changing caller's identity completely. Technology like SIP, while has made IP-based communication so much easier, has also led to a way robocallers can completely change their key identity parameter in terms of their calling phone number, while also hiding their tracks to avoid detection by changing any and every field or parameter within that SIP call. And I mean, contrary to the popular belief, which ends up I don't know how and why, but people think that robocalling is a big problem only to the US market. But it's not the case. If you go to other countries, you will find robocalling quantities to be much higher than USA. For example, in Brazil, the robocalling levels are almost more than twice what they get in the US. US actually stands in a strong eighth position when it comes to the amount of robocalling every country receives. So there are much smaller, much less populated countries receiving much higher number of robocalls, per capita in the world. Also, robocallers are smart. They don't end up mindlessly calling people and trying to find who would end up answering their calls. They ensure that they modify their calls such that it represents the called party, or it entices the called party enough to pick up that call. So what I mean by that is they research where their called party or the people they are trying to reach, where are they located, and they use phone numbers as a number to be appearing on their screens, such that it appears like a neighboring phone number, maybe from the same city, maybe even from the same neighborhood, or even sometimes there have been some cases phone number belonging to somebody's neighbor itself, right? So I mean, making a call appear trustworthy is something which a robocallers they spend a lot of time on, they research a lot on. You would find that I mean, around 28% of the scam calls uh, actually target users using their personal data, name, address, even the social security number. I mean, 75% of the scam victims have actually said that their personal information, even to a social security number or part of it, a part of social security number was known by the caller itself, right? So that's the reason why they trusted the caller and end up, following some of the commands or request which that caller made. Um, they also research a lot in terms of the demography, the seasonality, the period of the year to make calls towards people, right? For example, 40% of they know that people donate a lot during holidays. They are in such moods. So I mean, they actually make higher number of calls, appearing as an NGO or any other individual or company looking for donations around the time of holidays. They make calls to salaried and business owners much more, talking about income tax evasion or making fake IRS calls during the tax season. They target retired people much more. Through calls which involve phishing and social engineering. To actually coerce them to actually give up their personal information so that they can do malicious activity what they are after. They even customize. This meme you know serves that statement greatly, right? I mean, you'll find that if and this has actually happened to me. Sitting in Belgium, where I was getting calls from a person who used to speak in Hindi with me, and then I started speaking in English because I was fed up with those calls. And then I started receiving calls in English, and then I know a bit of French, so I started speaking, or maybe talking a few words in French just to say I don't understand what you're saying, and then in a few days I actually started receiving calls in French, which still continue to this date. And I just stopped picking up calls on my landline because nobody calls me on landline apart from these robocallers. So this actually happened. This meme is not just a joke, but this is something which I have personally also experienced. And of course, as I talk about seasonality, I talk about the robocallers considering what's happening in this world. You'd actually find that this data comes from a few months back, but around 44% of Americans had already received SMS or call scams related to COVID-19. So you can see how these robocallers improvise, right? Now coming to Skype, and I'll try and relate how has this robocalling phenomena has affected Skype negatively, and how we helped solve this problem for Skype. So, but you will, let's look at Skype in general. Skype was founded in 2003 as one of the pioneers in the global P2P voice chat. Skype had a mission of finding a low-cost, effective way to connect people all over the world. Using their groundbreaking platform, which they created in 2003, Skype had served millions of users, enabling communication by video, audio, and over-the-top, chat messaging. Now, Skype was such a phenomena that it single-handedly brought down the overall revenues or declined the revenues which the telecom industry or telecom operators were earning out of the international calling or messaging over the traditional PSTN and GSM network. This in the telecommunication world unofficially is called as the Skype effect. The telecommunications world had to improvise so much to gain back that lost revenue, and it created this is what led to a massive increase in the over the top messaging and communication services getting launched around the world. Of course, Skype still currently has over 100 million users, all around the world, and around 40 million daily users. And it's still quite a well-respected name in personal communication over the internet. And also, it has forayed extremely well in the area of business communication, where riding on Microsoft technology and their acquisition by Microsoft, it has been pushed quite successfully as a business messaging and communication application along with the Office suite. Let's look at the Skype and the robocalling problem. So Skype as a service provider also offers, along with its other rich communication services, also offers something they call as a Skype local number. So Skype local number is essentially a second phone number which is attached to anybody's Skype account, allowing a user to answer any incoming calls onto their personal or official phone numbers and get them forwarded to their Skype app using this particular phone number. So this phone number, which is Skype number, works as a bridge between their getting a call forwarded to that particular number and then connecting the call to their Skype app, so that wherever the user is, they can pick up the calls coming to their personal or official calls onto the Skype app, right? So you can only think about so many uses which it can have, right? Roaming, it could have use cases where if you you are not available, or if you are unreachable on the mobile network in the home country, then you can actually get these calls. Or it can just become a way you don't have to maintain two different phone numbers or SIM cards, and can actually have all the calls bridged onto one single phone number, right? So they offered these Skype phone numbers across 25 plus countries, and yeah, I mean, it is quite a it's quite a premium service being offered by Skype. And but unlike any phone number out there, Skype numbers also had a huge problem of robocalling, right? So for the callers, Skype numbers or for the robocaller, Skype numbers are no different than any other mobile or landline numbers, right? They are associated with the users. They can also use them to reach their um, uh, you know target demography. They can also use them to of course to deliver their calls which focus on phishing and scamming people. So the problem was that Skype number had a significant portion of incoming calls being uh, being robocallers, being initiated through robocallers. And Skype, in order to serve their paying customers well, who were subscribers of these Skype local numbers, they wanted to serve them well um, by finding a way to stop these robocalls. Just to talk about how it actually looked like. Skype currently has had around Skype currently has around 2 million inbound calls per day on Skype numbers, yeah, all around the world. And let's say if they have set up personal office numbers to be on calls coming onto these numbers to be forwarded to Skype number, which then connects to the Skype app. If the caller is a robocaller, the same thing happens, right? But in terms of the extent, you would actually what they were seeing is that the users were getting a significant portion from robocallers. They were complaining to Skype about this issue of getting robocalls on their Skype numbers too, not just office or personal numbers. And um, and they were also okay. The problem with robocalling and having a very large portion of inbound calls being tagged as robocall, even if it is Skype number or any number in general, is that the pickup rates um, on the incoming calls, it reduces considerably, right? Where the users starts distrusting any call which ends up, when on ends up on their phone number and doesn't have a contact detail attached to it, right? So they end up not picking up the call. They just lose the trust in the overall system, right? So and getting 14 15 calls per day like that, of course, even what I did with my landline, I mean, where I stopped picking up these my the calls ending up on my landline completely, is something which any regular user ends up doing, and that affects um, any service provider out there. And considering that for Skype number, users were actually paying and were ending up not picking up the calls, was a big problem for Skype, and it was a big user satisfaction issue for them. So Skype got in touch with TeleSign, yeah, where when we looked at the problem, we identified that our TeleSign's our own score solution, which is a real-time API-based query which can be made around any phone number and returns a reputation score about any phone number which is being queried, could actually fit the bill. And to to explain why we thought so, let me explain a bit more about what is score and how does it work. So score, as I said, delivers reputation score to assess risk based on phone number intelligence, traffic patterns, both on the online side and the communication side of a phone number. We also use global data consortium and cross customer intelligence to identify intelligence about the phone number, or gather behavioral information about phone numbers, both on the online and the communication side. All of this then goes through a machine learning platform to deliver a risk score on the scale of 0 to 1000. um, yeah, on the scale of 0 to 1000, with higher the score, higher is the risk. I'm going to get into a bit more detail in the upcoming slide as to how score works, but let's talk about what data set goes into score platform. So if you look at score, I mean, we have two key behavioral data set, which makes up score. One is, of course, TeleSign's own traffic, which is about serving, which is associated with the online or digital service providers we serve. And it comprises of the verification or 2FA traffic which passes through our ecosystem. It comprises of the communication or ARN traffic which passes through our platforms, and it also comprises of other customers utilizing score for the detection of fraud. I mean, for within our ecosystem. So they also make up for a huge cross customer intelligence about phone numbers which we deliver through Score platform. And apart from that, this data is also complemented by the communication traffic, which our parent company, Belgacom International Carrier Services, passes on to us, and which also helps bridge the gap between the online side of the story and the communication side of the story, which any phone number has, right? So so we identify all behavioral aspects about a phone number using these two key data points. Apart from that, we have access to one of the world's largest fraud consortiums through our customer shared intelligence, plus the fraud data which we identify within by delivering different services like Score within our ecosystem, and also the telecommunication fraud incidents which our parent company Big shares with us. That also is part of the overall data set. Apart from that, we have many other different sources, such as our rich intelligence and deep intelligence about the telecommunications domain in general. Phone numbers are not just mobile and landline, right? Phone numbers can be of many types. We have seen instances where unallocated numbers were used in fraud attacks. We have seen cases where phone numbers were created out of thin air by, for example, in robocalling, right? I mean, when somebody actually spoofs a number to a number which may not even exist or may belong to somebody else. We have seen numbers. We actually know that phone numbers can be, roaming in nature. They can be technical in nature. The phone numbers could be, test numbers in nature. Phone numbers could be invalid, looking at, numbering plan of any country. Phone numbers could actually be, VoIP phone numbers. There are hundreds and thousands of phone number resellers, web pages which are available, or websites which are available, where you can just go and purchase numbers in any country of the world. And the I mean, the ease at which these numbers are resold across many layers of companies doing businesses with each other, it 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 becomes very difficult to keep track of the original identity of the phone numbers and original association of the phone numbers with the operators. And on top of that, you have VoIP phone numbers available. You have SMS receive online phone numbers available, which are also used in fraud incidents across the world, because it's quite easy for the bad guys to get hold of these phone numbers and do fraud, and then get rid of those phone numbers quite easily once the fraud incident is done. Then, apart from that, we also do quite a lot of research within TeleSign to identify which phone numbers are appearing on various different websites, various different number reselling services out there through web crawlers and scrapers. We also connect with the operators to get intelligence about the phone number itself. So quite a lot of data which goes into our score platform, and all of it is then fed into our very strong machine learning platform, which identifies 2200 plus working variables, across different dimensions about the phone number, which then builds features and then participate in the overall score and risk calculation around a particular phone number. So if you look at how customers utilize Score, so Score is a real-time phone intelligence reputation score service. So any customer can actually query, who is integrated with Score, can query a phone number with us. It can just be a query with just phone number, but apart from that, they can also supply some additional dimensions like email, IP, device, if they have association around the phone number at the time of query, which can also help increase the dimensions by in which we look at that phone number intelligence. But in the Skype case, they actually query us, query just the phone number, and of course we pass it through 4 different levels within our machine learning platform, where we identify the static intelligence about that phone number, what kind of phone type it is, which carrier it belongs to, if that phone number is even valid or not, and if that and so on and so forth. So anything static related to that phone number is calculated at that stage. Then we actually look at the behavioral parameters, such as the phone number velocity. I mean, what kind of behavior that phone number is showing currently in the online vertical. If it is showing registrations and activations, login, signups, or order activity, or communication activity, which is quite an anomaly from a regular phone number behavior, and that is something which is also calculated in terms of velocity, their usage, and the behavior in general, and that also participates in the overall risk calculation. And apart from that, we also query those phone numbers within our fraud data consortium, and then the combination of the behavioral risk, the static intelligence about the phone number, the association with fraud consortium, and the machine learning algorithms working on top of it leads to us generating a score on the scale of 0 to 1000, with higher the risk, higher the score, higher the risk, with different risk levels going up from low risk to very high risk, and with a recommendation of allow, flag, and block coming from our side. Not just that, we also provide our customers reason codes. Reason codes are nothing but reasoning why, or let's say, combination of reasons why a particular phone number and ended up scoring, an allow recommendation or block recommendation from our side. And these reason codes are then supplied in from various different angles, such as, if it is providing details around their online behavior, providing details about their communication behavior, phone type, if IP address and other information are provided, then what kind of risky behavior we seen on those sites are then supplied as part of reason code. So customers have much more robust output coming out of score than just the risk level and the recommendation and the score value itself, which they can then use within their internal platforms to build risk policies based upon how would they like to use score suitable for their need. So while that's how score works, let's look at when Skype started querying score using a custom model which we built on a machine learning platform targeted for the detection of robocalling. They had some really good surprises where they found out that or they experienced that out of the 2 million calls, inbound calls they were receiving on the Skype numbers, 1 million of them were being recommended by TeleSign to be blocked as robocalls or spam calls or phishing calls in general. And so that actually made up to 50% of the total inbound calls on Skype numbers to be tagged as malicious or robocalls. So by blocking that share of the inbound calls to the Skype number, Skype see a dramatic increase in of course the dramatic, or they actually see a very high improvement in the average call duration. So let me just explain that part a bit. So what happens is that when people get a huge portion of calls on Skype numbers or any number in general as robocalls, they see a decrease in, or the operators or the service provider sees a decrease in the overall average call duration. So that means people end up picking up the call and then hanging up as soon as they pick it up, right? Because they understand that the caller is somebody who they are not interested in talking to. It also leads to a decrease in the amount of calls people end up picking. Sometimes people just stop picking up calls on their mobile, as I explained before. So what happened here is that when Skype when they started blocking the calls, which were 50% of them were coming from robocalls, when they started blocking it, they actually saw a positive impact on average call duration, where the ACD levels they increased because the decrease in the short duration robocalls which they saw by blocking these calls, connecting to the user. And not just that, they also tracked their customer service channels and social media and other different channels online to see if they are getting any negative PR, or if they saw any, decline in the overall abuse report, which was the case. Their overall abuse reports, or let's say complaints against Robocall, decreased significantly, and they did not see any negative PR coming on any different channels they were tracking by blocking these calls. So that actually proved that the calls, or 50% of the calls they ended up blocking, they indeed were calls which were originating from malicious callers or robocalls. So this was Skype's story, and while TeleSign was able to help Skype in their use case around solving a problem in the communication space, we using phone intelligence have served customer worldwide for many different use cases. Whether it was a use case of a mobile wallet company where just by using phone intelligence at the point of registration, they actually reduced their fraud transactions by 52%, or whether it was online marketplace, online multi-utility company in the CIS region where they saw a decline in fraud registration by 70%, or India where in just last 1 year we have identified 40 million plus fraud transactions or fraud queries over just last 1 year, or if it being a leading software company in based off the US, where we have recorded 104 million plus block recommendations coming out of score. And apart from that, we have use cases in fintech, we have use cases in gaming industry, we have use cases in lending industry, which we have served quite successfully, and we have customers all across these verticals, which have actually have been a success story. So if you're interested, or if you are part of any domain where phone number intelligence could prove beneficial, you can definitely get in touch with TeleSign for any more details, or you can directly get in touch with me, and I will place you in the hands of the right team, and yeah, we'll be more than happy to serve you with whatever queries and clarifications or interests which you may have in TeleSign services. So thank you so much. That was my side of the story. Thank you, Ted Summit, for giving us this platform to speak about the Skype experience with TeleSign and the success story they had. Everybody have the great rest of the day, evening, or the night, again, based upon wherever you are. Thank you so much. Bye.